All right, I finished part one of the Sarantine Mosaic, which is Sailing to Sarantium, my second book from Guy Gavriel Kay that I've ever read. The first being The Lions of Al-Rassan, which was probably my favorite book of the last couple years. Now, did I like Sailing to Sarantium as much as The Lions of Al-Rassan? In some ways, yes. In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. Now, the easy reason why I didn't love it as much as The Lions of Al-Rassan is the obvious one is that it's a duology. So we haven't gotten the big punchy ending yet that I know is probably being set up. Now, I'm liking all of the first acts of both of these books, The Lions of Al-Rassan, which I finished, and this one. I like the characters just as much in some ways. And I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever Lord of Emperors has to send my way. I'm so ready for it. Now, I could probably recommend The Lions of Al-Rassan to almost anyone. I don't know if I could do it to this one. Just at the top of this review, I will just say that it kind of ramps up the vulgarity, and there's a lot of. Some might say that Guy Gavriel Kay is maybe sometimes takes some, is a little bit indulgent maybe about some of the sexual content. Both, as there are people who are victims of sexual assault within the book, and also people, who this is a very old Byzantine Roman sort of ancient thing where some of these ladies in the book also use their, let's say, their allure or whatever you would say to kind of entangle other men or whatever. So we have that in this book where people are just going around, doing that old thing. So in some ways, when I'm reading books, I'm looking for books that I can recommend to people close to me, and I know that there would be some people that would not be wanting that sort of thing within their book. Now, at the same time, the story is incredible. The story is incredible so far. Where the Lions of Al-Rassan was more kind of battling city-states, and it still had the analog of like our own history. That while that one was kind of a Spanish thing, where we had the Jadites, which are kind of like a Christian parallel, and we have like a Jewish parallel of like merchants and things, and then we had the like a Muslim parallel, that the Muslim kind of conquest, and that's kind of what was happening with like the Moorish invasion or the Moorish occupation, whatever you would call it. That's kind of the thing that Guy Gavriel Kay was using as a template. Now this one is kind of Constantinople at its growth and its height, and the opening in the prologue has a change of emperor, and we have horse races, and we have all this amazing points of view. I mean, like sometimes we only get a page or two with a character, and we wonder if we're ever going to get him again. But even if we don't, it was like amazing the stuff that we got. And he builds up characters as if they're going to be a main point of view, even if they're just minor. Like he has that really, really great way about his writing where, it's not just the ending of his books that punch, it's every chapter and every page. He's being very, very careful about the way he's writing these. And so if you only have 15 minutes to read, both of these books so far have been so great for that, in just getting a little bit of, just getting one scene in. And if that's all we can get, it's going to be something that was worth your time, in my opinion. Where the Lions of Al-Rassan was more these city-states and kind of fragmented kingdoms. This one is very much, the Byzantine sort of parallel, the Sarantine Empire, and we have kind of a old, the Roman Empire is not what it was. The Rhodian Empire, which is like the Roman parallel, and we have people from both of those. And there's always a chance that the Sarantine emperor, in his wish to grow and to have legacy, would expand towards the west, and that's kind of always a possibility within this. Even though it's not necessarily the main thing that we're dealing with, we're following a mosaicist who has been called to come to the Sarantine Empire, to the Sarantium, and there's a big cathedral being made, and they need someone to decorate the dome, especially of this great cathedral. And he's an amazing character. He kind of reminds me of a Tom Builder, where he's very able. He's quite intelligent. Some may call him kind of a Gary Sue type, who always just seems to he's so intelligent that he just kind of can wing it and get through situations, even though he's in the middle of some terrible situations sometimes. I think he's a great character. I think the people around him are quite great. We have a queen of the Rhodian Empire, or kingdom, which I really like her. I like Crispin, our main character's former people that he worked with. There's an alchemist in this book, which it's the closest we get to sort of a fantastical sort of element. And even then, it's not like fantastical in fireballs and spells and that sort of thing, but more in the sense of kind of diving into spiritualism or mysticism, and the ways that a lot of ancients interfaced or felt like they were interfacing with deity, where they would sacrifice, sometimes virgins and that sort of thing. And we get that kind of thing here. And there's some weird things that happen as a result of some of that. So it's very interesting in that regard. This one, even though we have also within the Jadites, which are kind of like the Christian parallel, this big cathedral is supposed to be towards the Christian, to Jad. And we have people who have different ideas of maybe what should go on that, it's interesting that he went with what he did, because I just didn't even think of that. But and I can't go into more of that because it really kind of leans into maybe the rest of the series. But it's interesting. It's really interesting and really well done. This one, again, it has kind of a, going back to like the mysticism, spiritually, the fantastic. It's more of like a druidic sort of thing, as people from the Jadite culture are kind of dealing with some of the things from the druidic sort of weird stuff going on. It's interesting in that way. Now, some of the themes that happen, we have people who are constantly thinking about their legacy. And I've often thought, like, when I think of the people who have carved stuff in Egypt and moved blocks and things, and obviously there are writings all over the walls about certain pharaohs and whatnot, but often the craftsmen get kind of rejected, or not rejected, but just forgotten. But that was someone's hand that did that thing, or carved this or that. And I think this kind of goes into that, where this mosaicist has that on the back of his mind, where he would probably like to leave some sort of legacy. And when he goes to these cathedrals and he's obsessed with light and mosaics, and he's just floored by some of these ancient works that have been done, and he doesn't ever really know who did them. And so we have some of that. We have some of that within art. We have that with our emperor character. We have that with a number of these different people. And we have examples of how sometimes memory doesn't remember, we don't remember things maybe the way that they actually happened. We have a humorous account of that with one of the characters, who's remembered as a different type of person than he actually was, a very, very minor character. And I won't let you know which one that would be. But it had me laughing a little bit, and I thought it was good. Now, again, I'm only at part 1 of this duology, and I am looking forward to getting to the next one. again, know who you are as far as the content stuff, if that kind of thing would bother you. But as far as the story, it's just so A plus. It's so good. It's so good. If you want to have political maneuvering and very, very witty, smart dialogue, if you like chariot races, there's just so much to like. It might not be as epic in scope, where we have, we don't have hundreds of characters and things like that. We do have factions and we have great characters, but it's not quite as epic as maybe some people would like, but it is quite expansive still. He's no slouch in his writing as far as juggling a number of subplots and making you want all of them. I can't think of one subplot within this that I wasn't thoroughly engrossed in. So looking forward to the next one. I can't really pick apart any faults in the writing itself, other than some of that content stuff might bother some people. So talk to you guys soon.